Hello, and welcome to Module 2. In Module 2, we are going to talk about the Stone Book Policy Paradox. We are also going to talk about the assignments that you're going to have associated with the Stone paper. You're going to have both this week a short reaction paper, about 200 words, where you are going to talk about part one of Stone. Now, part one of Stone is only one chapter long. And it's an important chapter, and so I thought that we would sort of guarantee that you would look at it and get started with the Stone book by doing this reaction paper. As with all of reaction papers in our course, about half of it is going to be a summary of what you've read, while the other half will be thoughts that you will have, interpolations, things that you are going to have thought about in light of what you have just read. In most cases, students enjoy reaction papers, and they're a great opportunity to get a few points for doing just a little bit of work, especially in light of the fact that Chapter 1 of Stone is one of the most important concepts that we're going to cover in the course. The bulk, though, of this module is going to be talking about the Stone Book Report. And the Stone Book Report is a longer assignment, 6 to 7 pages, that you're going to submit. And if you look closely in the module, there's going to be a what I call the Stone Completion Plan. It would look like this. And what I'm hoping that you're going to do is that you're going to set either following this or your own completion plan. We're not really looking for you to read the entirety of Stone and to write about it. If you do, it'll probably not turn out the way you had hoped. If you think about any course that you ever take is a textbook completion plan. And it's called the syllabus. And it'll say you read chapter 1 this week, and you read chapter 2 this week, and so on. And sometimes you take that to mean that you should really follow that, and sometimes you do a lot of reading right at the end. I strongly recommend not putting things off to the very end. If you look at Module 1, I think that sometimes you only have a week to get something done, and I think that that's what we're trying to capture with Module 1. But Module 2 and Module 3 are sort of setting out the rules and groundwork for major paper assignments that you're going to have that carry us through the rest of the semester. And as such, I think, getting started, getting a little work done here and there, breaking things up into smaller portions is really the way that you can maximize your success in this course. And so that's why I begin with the Stone Completion Plan. If you do not like Carl's Stone Completion Plan, create your own. But don't expect that you're going to get as much from the course if you are reading Stone in the last couple days leading up to the paper. And certainly, it would be obvious if what you do is you just leaf through Stone. She's creating a discussion of that works as a consistent whole, and as such, the more depth that you can put into it, the better you'll do in this course. And in fact, I'm hoping that on your final paper that you utilize some of the thoughts that she brings forward. A lot of what we do in this course is we talk about rational choice theory, or the idea that government will attempt to create the best policy possible by maximizing the benefit while minimizing the cost. And Stone challenges this idea. And because Stone is challenging this idea with what might best be called a political model, she calls it the POLS model. If you had a government that was the size of a small community, but was completely independent, and had all of the elements of a political community, while at the same time being as simple as possible. This is what she's looking to describe. And in essence, it's not really the way Greek city-states operated. If you're a historian who studies Greek history, you'll know that this isn't exactly the way things worked. But instead, she is trying to create a heuristic, a learning tool for us by simplifying government to its most basic elements. And she talks about that a lot in chapter 1. And so capturing some of these ideas in chapter 1 is very important. Now, we also have a voiceover PowerPoint presentation that talks about the Stone book. I think it's titled Why Did Stone Write Policy Paradox? And it talks about some of the important ideas that she brought forward. Now, looking at this slideshow is not a substitute for doing the reading, but I think it helps to unpack some of the ideas. Now, when you're actually looking at the directions, and in fact, we have several elements of the directions in this course. What I did was I printed up a set of directions, I printed up the rubric, and I also created a checklist of important things that you should think about as you're completing the assignment. So this is the directions. The Stone Book Report directions will look like this as you go through it. And the rules that you need to follow are right there. Now, one thing that I think that I can tell you, and I think you should probably believe, is that the Stone Book is several hundred pages long. And if you're writing a 6 to 7 page double-spaced report on it, you're not going to be able to treat it the way a poetry major treats a great book, poem, right? If you were analyzing The Raven, you would, you'd say, well, here's a couple page poem, and I'm going to analyze it in 10 pages. We aren't unpacking something short. In fact, we are distilling something much longer. And so in some places, you're going to have to pick the topics that she covers that you find most important at the expense of others that you find a little less important. And balancing between completeness of your discussion versus giving some meaningful detail about the most important thoughts that she has, it is a little bit of a challenge. You're going to be invited to maybe find some chapters in the book that you find uniquely interesting to you. And these might not be the same as other people find to be important. When a week goes by and nobody asks me a question about any assignment, I wonder why. After all, that would cause me to believe, if I hadn't been doing this for several years, that everybody understands perfectly what they should be doing. Sadly, I think that it usually means that most people haven't begun the assignment yet. Because, sometimes the question that gets asked 2 days before a paper is due is, where can I find the directions? That's one of the major reasons why, rather than going week to week, we decided to have the stone information all congregated together in Module 2. So you'll be able to reference back to Module 2. The reaction paper is going to close at the end of the week, and you're not going to be able to jump back and actually do the reaction paper. But on the other hand, information about the directions, the rubric, checklist of things that you should look at before turning in the paper, the Stone PowerPoint, this video are going to be available to you all the way through the rest of the course. And I encourage you to continue to reference back, because I encourage, even after you've completed the book report, to still be aware of Stone and to try to work some of her major ideas into your final paper. When you talk about ideas like, what motivates policy making, and different conceptions of equity and efficiency, different conceptions of security, liberty. It's important that you interrogate the policy that you're engaged in to see how people are going to feel about it. And quite often you will say, well, how do I address senses of inequity or lack of security? If I'm going to come up with a plan that people no longer have to have the transportation security people check my luggage or my person as I get onto an airplane, well, is that going to cause people to feel more or less secure? Do they want to feel less secure? We talk, or actually Stone talks a good deal about times when businesses, in fact, prefer friendly regulation. Not where the regulator is trying to shut them down, but where the regulator stamps their approval. Imagine if you were going to purchase a whole chicken at the store, and one store has USDA approved chicken, and the other says, we picked it up from Tony's farm, and he claims that it's good. Which one is the one that you're going to prefer? One of the great outcomes of Stone, as you read it, is that you're going to see that there are some terms and phrases that everybody approves of, and yet they have different views on what those phrases mean. And I think that she talks about trade-offs and competing meanings. And if you're interested at all in political science, and if you're interested at all in communication, I think that the Stone book will really capture the reasons why you're interested in political communication. Again, the only assignment that you will be graded on for next week will be that reaction paper. So the main thing that you need to do, in addition to reading the rules, reading the directions and such, make sure you read part 1, chapter 1 of Stone. As you read it, be preparing to write your reaction paper. And I think that you shouldn't be concerned overly about the score. My intention is to make comments on your reaction paper related to what the score will be on future reaction papers if you perform at that quality. If you fit within the range of the length that we're hoping for, and you do the assignment on time, you should expect full credit. You should expect the 5 points. But what you should keep in mind is that you will get feedback that will tell you, yes, keep doing the good work. But it might possibly be where I'll say, yeah, if this was the midpoint in the semester, this would have been a 4, or this would have been a 3. Just so that you'll be aware of where you need to improve and where you're doing a strong job already. For the most part, if you end up doing this in graduate school, just about every class session, often once a week, you'll have a reaction paper that'll be expected to be 2 pages long with the same format, half summary, half interpretation, and it's very good to learn this skill. If not for public policy, for any of the types of assignments that you might want to do. Remember also, you're working forward toward your policy question. Out there's a policy problem that you're going to want to solve. Problems, we are problem based. If you are already at the point where you have a solution that you think that you're going to propose, I'm not ready for that. I'm ready for you to be able to tell me about a problem. And I'm hoping that you will enter into that problem without encumbering it in any way with the solution. You're apt to end up choosing the solution that you've loved right along. But for now, we want a small policy problem that you can work on and try to solve. And you will be expected to have that in very soon. All right. So I wish you all well. I think that many of us have gotten off to a really good start. If you didn't do one of the assignments, that would definitely be a time to jump up in and try to contact me, because I'm a reasonable person and I want to work with you. But communication is the key. And if I haven't been able to communicate with you, you might want to seek to work the conversation in the other direction. All right, I will talk to you all next week, and I wish you all good luck.